There we go.
All right. All right, it's 6:02. I'm going to call this special meeting of the Columbia Board of Assessment Appeals to order. We have a full board here today. All three of us are here. The first thing on our agenda is to approve the minutes of the March 4th meeting. Hopefully you guys had a chance to review them. And I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do I hear a second? Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Right, minutes are approved and unanimously. The next item on our agenda is our board discussion and decision on the real estate appeal of James and Kristen Locke at 24 Doubleday Road. And the appellants had sent us several photos. I had requested if they could. They sent them to Mary and I forwarded them to you. If you need to see them on the screen, Flo said she can put them up on the screen as well. So just let us know. Given that we have this extra visual and there was a little narrative that Mrs. Locke had.
There it is.
Attached to that email about the damage. And I don't know if you guys got to read that or not. If not, I can just quickly read it to you.
I'm going through my emails. Which one was that exactly?
It probably was attached to one of the three that came from Mary, maybe the first one, with the photos. It would have been probably towards the end of the email.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, if you want, I can read it real quick.
Yeah, I might as well.
Okay, it says, this is from Kristen Locke. As I was asked to send you photos of the damage to our basement, this was to Mary. The majority of the damage is in the northern finished 16 by 24 feet. The pictures were taken over several months. We had to remove all the flooring and the knee wall in that northern room. We also had to remove the flooring in the half bath and out into the hallway and living area in the basement by about 2 feet beyond the stairs. We additionally had to remove the flooring where the foundation was crumbling in the living area. As of right now, we have begun to dry lock the foundation, but the space is unusable until we do the work outside to ensure no more water is coming in. Our contractor had also told us the more walls may need to come down, but they're not sure yet. And that was basically it. So, and then I'm going to open the floor to discussion. You want to start, Mike, because you had done a little research on after you had received the emails.
Yeah, I don't know. First of all, the question I have is still, just because something goes wrong with a house doesn't mean that people are entitled to a reduction in assessment. I understand that he purchased a house with the thought that the house was perfect and something went wrong later. But that happens, I think, to a lot of people that buy houses and they realize later that they have issues. So in those cases, I don't think most people are entitled to a reduction in their assessment. I sympathize with the person who has issues with the house, but it's kind of like, I'm not sure that that's something that should come before the board at all. Anybody else have an opinion on that?
Yeah, my only concern is, again, I guess, are we opening Pandora's box if we start going down this route? I understand what Mike's saying with that.
Yeah. I mean, this has never happened, come up to the board before. It's kind of like, in my mind, anything that goes wrong with a house is something that's temporary. It's not like you have a crumbling foundation, which is something we could probably adjust for, because that's pretty permanent and pretty bad. So, right. If it's something along those lines, then maybe there's room to play. But
if I may, the assessment of the house went up based upon modifications that were done, and those modifications were undone at that around that same time. So I guess that's kind of where we're coming from, is that the entire like upgrade, essentially the increase of the assessed value isn't correct on the house, because many of those modifications that were made had to be unmade, and we're not going to remake them. I'm not putting in a new floor there.
So it's going to remain unfinished afterwards? You're going to leave the finish out?
Yes. I mean, maybe years from now I'll re-engage, but right now I don't want to put a floor there. If there's a chance that it could leak again, I'd rather just seal the floor and leave it as is.
And I would think that if you remove all the finish, Mary would be happy to reduce your assessment.
All right.
Linda, did you get anything more from Mary, numbers wise?
I did. Hang on a second. See if I can find it.
I understand the point, like it is kind of a gray area, like you said, like that added value was under the expectation that it was permanent and done correctly.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know how
let's say
we,
the same thing happens like with a,
go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say like a wood deck is built and let's say it's faulty, and then you have to re-pour the piers, or I don't know, you have to do something to it. That deck was valued by the assessor when you bought the house, but you're still going to repair the deck and use it again. And if you're not, you're going to remove the deck totally, then I think the town assessor would be willing to take the deck off your assessment. That kind of thing. It's hard to equate it to anything else, but you know, like a major improvement.
Mm-hmm.
Mary didn't offer anything one way or the other. She just said that if we were to make an adjustment, she said if we do it, if we do, it would be a cost per square foot of flooring, and that number would depend on what flooring would be replacing what was there. So you're saying that you're not going to put in a flooring?
No.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if this is the type of thing we should even be adjusting. You know, I that's my question at this point.
I agree.
You know, I wonder if we can equate it to something else that would go wrong with the house, and the people would just have to fix it and suck it up in the short run. I know it kind of stinks to put it that way, but it's happened to me before. I mean, I had to put a new well in my last house, and I was under the impression my well was good. And that cost me $3,000 or $4,000, but I didn't get an assessment reduction on it. You know?
Yeah, and we are having a revow this fall. So whatever state the house is in will be evaluated at that point. So it may come down.
Is there any direction in our handbook along these lines at all? Or in the
Hang on, I got to go get it.
sorry.
I mean, I would think if it's something more permanent, we should be able to give some relief, but something that's temporary, and I know that this is a pretty big thing, but it's still temporary in the scheme of things. If it doesn't get fixed and it continues to be wet, be an adjustment by the assessor for wet basement, because the assessor will do that. So if you don't fix it and it stays wet, it can be adjusted. The assessor will adjust for a wet basement.
I'm just taking a quick look through our duties. And
like Mike saying, I'm trying to think of it as very analytical as our role. We look at things as they are at the time of assessment, not before or what they could.
Yeah, it would have to, we would have to make the decision on the status of the house as of October 1st of last year.
Yeah.
I mean, another thing would be like a furnace, if your furnace goes. You know, you gotta replace that. Your roof goes, gotta replace that. I'm just trying to, I think this falls in line with all those things. It's not really outside of that, is it? Is it just because it's a larger thing, maybe, and maybe more costly? It's still kind of similar to those items.
Well, I guess you could almost equate it to like a burst pipe that floods your basement.
Yeah.
It damages all that stuff that has to be fixed. Again, that's insurance. I get that.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I did an appraisal recently where, yeah, the interior of the house was totally damaged from water. So they had to rip all the sheetrock out, all the flooring and everything. And since that's more of a permanent issue, and the house was unlivable at that point, they probably deserved an assessment reduction.
Okay,
Is that
so
Yeah.
under accountability in our handbook, it says when the Board of Assessment Appeals increases or decreases the gross assessment of any taxable real estate or interest therein, the amount of the gross assessment shall be fixed until the next revaluation unless assessor increases or decreases the gross assessment to 1, comply with the court order, 2, to reflect an addition for new construction, 3, reflect a reduction for damage or demolition, or 4, to correct a factual error by issuance of a certification of correction. So that that puts it back into the hands of the assessor to do a reduction for damage or demolition.
You mean out of the hands of the board?
It doesn't take it out of our hands, but if we were to make a reduction, it would stay in effect until the next reval, which is this year, unless the assessor increased or decreased the gross assessment due to a reduction for damage or demolition.
Yeah. Well, this is a sticky situation,
Yeah.
only because
So
Mr. Locke-
when they get to the point where they're actually going to do the work, they'll have to pull building permits, and that time the assessor will be made aware of what's going on.
so then we can do an adjustment for damage according to that.
sounds like it.
And like you like you said, when someone's gonna redo or fix that, they have to pull the permits anyways. So
Right.
it gets assessed then.
Yeah, so that, could it be a situation where if we gave a reduction, it would have to be increased back to the current level after repairs are completed?
That would be up to the assessor.
Okay. So I don't know if you folks wanted to work on some type of adjustment. I worked out some numbers. Basically, it looks like, according to the assessor, or maybe the homeowner, there was 384 square feet of finished basement. And the assessor values that at $50 a square foot. So that's the value she puts on the basement alone. But that would include all finished basement, which would be flooring, ceiling, walls, anything else that you have in there, trim and doors, that kind of thing. However, since the homeowner only has half basement damaged, in other words, portion of the wall and the finished flooring, the value of the basement shouldn't be $50 per square foot. Or in other words, about half of the basement has been damaged rather than the whole finished basement. So I was thinking that if we took half of the basement, which would be half of the finished basement, which would be 192 square feet at $50, that comes up to $9,600 that the assessor has attributed to half basement. It's just
Yeah, I'm looking at their property card, and the basement is listed as being semi-finished, 912 square feet of semi-finished basement.
I think the homeowner actually came up with a number of 16 by 24 or something like that. There
Right,
was
right.
an estimated area that was damaged rather than the whole basement. So I was using that number. So it appears as though roughly the value of the damage is $9,600 according to the assessor, according to the assessor's information.
But that would be if you were going to put the floors in, which they're not going to do.
I'm sorry, what?
That includes replacing the floors, which I don't think they're going to do that.
No, so this number I'm giving you is without that. This is just without the finished floor, without a portion of the lower wall because of water damage. This would be the reduction amount, $9,600, if you wanted to go that way. That's taken into consideration. The lower half of the wall might be damaged from water, the trim, and the flooring.
That sounds reasonable.
Anybody else want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, how's that? So
So I think that's
That would be the $9,600 reduction would affect the
what would that be?
appraised value, correct? Not the assessed value.
Yeah, I think that's
The
value.
appraised value.
Because the appraised value, the actual value, and the assessment would be 70% of that.
Percent of that, yeah.
So 9,600 times 0.7 would be the reduction in assessment.
Reduction in
Somewhere-
appraisal.
6720.
Yeah, so that would be 6720 would come off the applicant's assessment. Until the repair work's done, then it should go back up.
Well, until reval,
Yeah, I guess. Well,
or if the construction's done before reval.
Yep.
yeah. So I'll make a motion to adjust the appellant's assessment by that amount.
I'll second it.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing
Okay, so
none.
Mr. Locke? Does that seem
No,
reasonable to you?
I think that's fair.
All right.
Okay.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Right, unanimous. Mr. Locke, you'll get a letter from us, stating our decision. You'll get a copy of the minutes. And then if you're not satisfied with our decision, it will also tell you what your next step would be if you wanted to still pursue it.
No, I think I'm good. I think that's fair. I appreciate your time.
Okay, good.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Take care. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Gary, I'm in a meeting. Okay. All right, so real quick, I had to add on item 5. Discussion decision on elective officer compensation for the Board of Assessment Appeals per the town charter. So I'm taking minutes for the Charter Revision Commission, and Mike remembers this, but in the past, the board members used to get paid for their time. So I went, I didn't realize it was in the charter that it says we are to be paid for our time. So I brought it to the attention of the town manager, a town administrator, and said, we've never been paid. So I actually
Are
went
you
to,
still not paid, Linda?
pardon me? No,
You must be paid, right?
no, Flo
No?
was, no, just Flo. So back in the day when Santo Franzo was the chairperson, remember Santo? I remember taking the minutes for one of the board meetings for you guys and for board assessment appeals. And at that time, the board said, we don't want this, we don't want the money, we're just
Right.
don't paying us. And so the town never paid us since then. So I went to town hall and I looked at the charters and that stipulation that the Board of Assessment Appeal members would be paid was put in the 2003 revision of the charter by, they broke it up. Each member of that commission had a piece of the charter to review, and that person went and looked at other charters of other surrounding towns and they paid their Board of Assessment Appeals members. So she put it in the draft of the revision of the charter and they accepted it. And so it's been in there ever since. So I told Mark, the town administrator, Mark Walter, that I would approach you guys and see if they can pay us for this fiscal year if you want to be paid. We will be paid the floater wage of $13.24 for the time we spent last September at our meeting, this March, and probably next September, because the charter revision won't go through before the September meeting. So I told him I would ask you guys if you want to get paid or not. He said it's
It's a
no,
loaded question, isn't it?
pardon me? It's a loaded question.
I think you should be paid.
Well, no, it's an all or nothing. It's
Yeah,
not.
Then it's an all.
Okay. All right.
For me, anyway. I don't know.
Okay. What do you think, Steve?
It's in the charter. You can't go against that, right?
It's in the charter and we should be paid. Yes.
Yeah, I don't think we ever even signed up for it for that reason, but
No. I mean, I remember them being paid, but I just never realized that there was actually in the charter that said you are to be paid.
I can
I
use some
remember
beer money.
back at the-
Pardon me?
He said I can use some beer money.
I think whatever they give me, I'll probably donate to the food pantry or something. I'll do something with it, but whatever. So I'm gonna go ahead and tell Mark that we want to get paid.
Yep.
They're probably gonna approach you to, fill out paperwork so that you guys can, the town's payroll. And they
Well,
should.
I should have my
They should
own
be-
other one.
Yeah, they should be issuing you guys a check in the near future.
That's going to throw me into another tax bracket.
Yeah, never mind. Don't.
All right, so I'm going to say that the consensus of the board is that since it is in the current charter that that the board members should be paid for this fiscal
And I
year.
think you should get paid double, Linda. Flo also. Can you put that in there?
I don't think so.
Yes.
All right, so the consensus is that. So that brings me to 5.2. Discussion and decision on a possible recommendation to the Charter Revision Commission regarding this section. So it's come up, we're reviewing the charter right now, section by section. And that commission it's in there now. And with their first review, they left it in there. The Board of Selectmen have made a recommendation to the Charter Revision Commission that it be taken out. So I just wanted to get your viewpoints. I actually looked at the minutes and I saw the towns that they were comparing us against when they actually put it in there. I think it was Bolton, Hebron, and Andover, because it was in their charters in 2003. So that's why they put it in our charter, to make it consistent with surrounding towns. So I went back and I looked at the current charters of those surrounding towns, and it's no longer in their current charters. So I just wanted to get your feedback as to, do you want to make a recommendation to the Charter Revision Commission of leaving it in, taking it out, or do you want to not bother making any kind of recommendation?
What do other committees like this in town have, if anything, that are
We
comparable?
are the only, that section only says that the first selectmen, the registrars, and the members of the Board of Assessment Appeals are paid, nobody else.
All right, so that's, I did read that one correct, okay.
So,
So you're proposing to take the payment for now and then remove it from the charter in the future?
it'll be their decision whether they remove it or not, but the Board of Selectmen has recommended to them that they take it out. Because you'll be voting on a new charter come November at a referendum.
We don't have any control over that though, right?
We don't have any control, but we can make a recommendation to the Charter Revision Commission and they can,
Oh.
take it for what it is.
Yeah.
In light of tonight, I can, if other people find out about this and how they can appeal like damages or constructions, I think our workload could get exponentially more, or the committees going forward
Yeah,
would be my only.
might get difficult, but yeah. I don't know, we need to talk. Maybe in the future, we just need to kibosh anything like that comes down the pike. I mean, I don't think people should be allowed to reduce their assessment because they run into some bad luck in their house.
Mm.
For everyday stuff, I mean, for sure, crumbling foundation maybe, but you know what I mean?
Well, what do you think? Do you want to make a recommendation to the Charter Revision Commission to leave it in there? Leave the payment to the members in there?
What do you think?
I would like, I already told them I'd like to have it stay in there.
I think it would stay in there just because of, in my personal opinion, just what I've been seeing with the fire department. People's time is just so much more valuable these days that you're not getting the people to volunteer their time to do these type of things.
Mhm.
Their priorities are a lot other places.
Right.
So a little bit of compensation, again, it's not like breaking the bank or anything like that. It's just a little bit for your service.
Yeah.
Is
I mean, I went back to look at the minutes to see if there was a reason why they put it in there in the first place, and it was because other towns had done it. But there was no explanation as to why. I still don't know why.
I would vote to keep it in.
Okay. All right, so I'll bring it, they're gonna be meeting on the 25th. So I'll be at the meeting taking minutes, so I'll bring it up and just say, at our meeting, the consensus was to leave it in, list the reasons. Hopefully Flo will have it in the minutes, what the reasons. So, all right, so that, do you want to take a vote on it, or you want to just use it as a consensus of the commission?
I'm okay with it.
Okay. All right. Okay, so we have no other business, so it is 6:31. Make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Okay, will you write up the documents regarding Mr. Locke and the property?
Flo and I will work on that.
Okay,
Okay.
good deal.
Second it.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Yeah, good night.